If you're just starting your coding journey, I'm willing to bet there's one massive question just hanging over your head. Which language should I learn first? Well, today we're going to build a strategic guide to help you answer that, get you past the common traps, and actually start building something awesome. Okay, let's just get right to it. This is the question, isn't it? It's the one that fills up every forum, sparks endless debates, and it's probably the exact question that brought you here. You just want to know, what's the single best language that's going to unlock everything for me? But here's the big twist. The whole idea of asking for the one best language, it's actually the wrong way to think about it. The question itself is flawed because it's looking for a magic bullet, a perfect one-size-fits-all answer. And honestly, that just doesn't exist. So here's the thing you really need to get. Your real mission isn't just to learn the syntax of Python or JavaScript. It's to learn how to think like a programmer. It's about building this deep foundation of logic and problem solving. The language you choose, that's just the first car you learn to drive. The actual skill of driving is what you'll take with you everywhere.
And this obsession with finding the perfect language leads to this huge trap that gets so many beginners stuck. It's called analysis paralysis. You know what I mean? You spend weeks, maybe even months, reading articles, watching videos, comparing tiny details, but you never actually write a single line of code. The truth is, the most critical thing you can do is just begin.
Okay, so how do we begin? We start by making our first big strategic choice. And it's not even about a specific language just yet. It's about the philosophy of learning you want to follow. Let's break down the two main paths. You can think of this as two different trails up the same mountain. On one side, you've got the productivity first path. This is all about getting quick wins, seeing results fast, and building up that motivation. On the other side is the fundamentals first path. Now, this is a much steeper climb. It forces you to wrestle with tough concepts like memory management right from the start, but it gives you this incredibly deep understanding of how the computer is actually working under the hood. So, which one's for you? While both trails get you to the top, there's a really clear recommendation for most people starting out, especially if you're teaching yourself. Take the productivity first path. Why? Because those early wins, that feeling of making something that actually works, that creates this powerful, positive feedback loop. That excitement is the fuel that will keep you going when things inevitably get tough. And trust me, your motivation is the most precious resource you have. All right, so we've picked our philosophy. We're going to prioritize productivity and get some wins on the board. With that decision made, it's finally time to choose our vehicle. Let's meet the top contenders that are perfect for this approach. So here's a quick look at the main players. You've got Python, which is famous for its super clean, readable syntax. That's why it's the king of AI and data science. Then there's JavaScript, the engine that powers the entire interactive web. It's pretty easy to get started with, but it has its quirks. And then you have the big corporate workhorses, Java and C#. They've got a bit of a steeper learning curve, for sure, but they are the absolute foundation for huge business applications and a ton of game development. Okay, now we are at the single most important part of this whole explainer. It's time to completely flip the question. I want you to forget asking what's the best language and instead start asking yourself, what do I want to build? The absolute best way to pick a language is to connect it to what you're passionate about. So let's map that out. If you dream of building websites, your path is crystal clear. Seriously, it's non-negotiable. You have to start with HTML to create the structure, then you add CSS to make it look good, and finally, you bring it all to life with JavaScript to make it interactive. Every single web developer on the planet follows this exact path. And hey, just a quick but really important side note here, because this trips a lot of people up. HTML and CSS aren't technically programming languages. Think of HTML as the skeleton and CSS as the clothes. They are absolutely essential, but JavaScript is the one that provides the brains and the logic. Okay, what if you're totally captivated by artificial intelligence, or you want to find stories hidden in massive amounts of data? Well, your choice is even easier. You learn Python. Period. It is the undisputed king of this world. Your journey will then be about mastering its incredible libraries like Pandas and NumPy before you dive into the really cool stuff with frameworks like TensorFlow. For all you aspiring game developers out there dreaming of creating your own worlds, the path is incredibly direct. You're going to learn C#. Why? Because it's the main language used by the Unity game engine, which is one of the most popular game-making platforms in the world. Learning C# and Unity together is the one-two punch that'll let you bring those game ideas to life. But maybe your goal is a bit different. Maybe you're aiming for a super stable, long-term career building the massive, bulletproof systems that power the world's biggest companies. If that's you, then you want to focus on the two giants of the corporate world. Java, which has been the backbone of finance and big business for decades, and C#, which is the absolute powerhouse for any company that lives in the Microsoft ecosystem. So, we've talked about philosophies, we've looked at the top languages, and we've laid out these different roadmaps based on what you want to achieve. And all of that analysis brings us right back to the single most important message. The whole point of this isn't to find the perfect answer on paper. It's to move from thinking to doing. Because this right here is the ultimate takeaway. The specific syntax of the first language you learn, honestly, in a few years, it'll start to feel less important. But the skills you build along the way, that ability to break down a huge problem, to think logically, to persevere, that is the real prize. That's what will stay with you for your entire career. And that brings us to the end. But it really leaves us with one final question. And this one is aimed directly at you. We've given you the framework. The time for endlessly researching and comparing is over. Your journey is sitting right in front of you, waiting to start. So, what will you build first?